Hello. Today I'm going to talk to you about forgiveness. Have you ever been so mad at someone to the point where you felt hot on the inside? The type of hotness where you feel yourself perspiring from it? What if you walked around every day holding on to some sort of anger or bitterness towards someone who has wronged you in some way? Do you know what that does to your outward appearance and your internal health? Although it took me a long time to learn this, I've had to learn that forgiveness is not just for the other person, it's for me as well. Throughout my life, I've had people to hurt or disappoint me. I felt like I would never speak to them again. I'd be better off without them in my life. But guess what? While I was stressing myself out over the situation and having restless nights, they weren't bothered at all. I gave them and the situation more power than I should have. Now that I know that there's power in forgiveness, I won't allow anyone to steal my joy ever again. I believe that everyone should practice forgiveness because forgiveness promotes internal healing. It is also very important for the mind, body, and soul. There's power in forgiveness. What do I mean by forgiveness? Forgiveness is a conscious decision that you must make within yourself to let go of feelings of bitterness, anger, hatefulness, or any type of hard feelings towards someone who has hurt you or wronged you in some way. I know that this is easier said than done. And there may be cases where you may feel like that person does not deserve your forgiveness. But forgiveness is not just for that person. It's mainly for you. This doesn't mean forgetting what they did to you. It just means that letting go of these feelings will free your mind and not allow you to be in continued bondage with the situation. A couple of weeks ago, I came across a video on Facebook on the Heart Threads Documents page about a deputy officer who had befriended a young man who shot him. Back in 1996, the off-duty deputy officer was involved in a shootout with a 19-year-old man in an attempted robbery incident. During the robbery, they were both shot in the stomach. Although wounded in the robbery attempt, the deputy had asked how the young man was doing. His family was perplexed by this question. Why does he care about someone who almost took his life? The deputy officer had decided from his hospital bed that he was going to forgive this young man. So much so, at sentencing, he asked the judge for a lighter sentence. The deputy had decided and thought that this young man should be given a second chance. This statement moved the entire courtroom to tears, even the judge. The young man was given a lighter sentence, and the entire time he was incarcerated, the deputy would come, call, and check in on him with his mom. He even went as far as petitioning for the young man's early release. The young man could not believe the outpouring of love that the deputy had shown him throughout his time in prison. On the day he was released, the deputy was there front and center. He embraced him and he told him that he had forgiven him. You see, forgiveness of the young man was not only freeing for the deputy, it was also motivation for the young man to make good on that second chance that he was given. The young man is now a pastor, and the two of them remain friends until the death of the deputy this year. There's power in forgiveness. Why is it important to forgive? Besides letting go of bitterness and the hurt, it's important to forgive because it's freeing for you to be able to express the hurt to the person or people that you're harboring these feelings towards. Most of them, they're most likely don't even know that you're holding on to or feeling some sort of way about them. It's also good to talk it out or say it out loud so that you can be able to move on from it. Setting yourself free from bondage of unforgiveness is the most liberating thing a person could ever do for themselves. Not allowing yourself to stay in that sunken place is healing. Growing up, I was the middle child of 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls. I was the oldest girl, so there were 3 older than me and 3 younger than me. I grew up in a 2-parent household until my dad passed away with his battle with lung cancer when I was 14 years old. Until my dad got sick, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My mother was a very stern woman. I felt like from day one, she was very hard on me. I used to feel like I was only born to do what she didn't want to do. She taught me how to cook, clean, launder, keep up, and care for a 9-person household. So after my dad passed, it was all on me, the oldest girl, to fill in for my mom when I got home from school because she worked in the evenings. I would have to go home and finish dinner after she had started it and complete whatever else that needed to be done in the house. As a teenager, I couldn't understand why she put so much responsibility on me. For years, although I loved my mother dearly, I held some resentment and unforgiveness towards her inside of me because of this. When my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer back in 2009, I was there with her at every one of her doctor's appointments, and I was her personal chauffeur to all her therapy treatments. Although we had many conversations during her bout with cancer, I could never muster up the conversation about what I was feeling inside. I guess it was my fear of me not wanting to bring up stuff while she was going through her illness. It was on her deathbed a year later I decided to express my feelings that I had held in for so long, because I needed to let it go before it was too late. After I expressed the things I felt, I asked her, "Why were you so hard on me and not the other children?" She looked at me and she told me she knew that I was the nurturer and that she wanted to make me a responsible adult. I guess as a child, you would never understand that. But as an adult, at that time, I understood completely. At that moment, I forgave my mother, and that burden that I had carried with me for all those years had been lifted. If it wasn't for her, I know I wouldn't be the wife, mother, and person that I am today. There's healing in forgiveness. How is forgiveness good for your internal healing? While forgiveness can also be beneficial for your internal health and healing, it can also be beneficial for your outward appearance and attitude as well. I read an article from the Mayo Clinic titled Forgiveness, Letting Go of Grudges and Bitterness. It talked about different variations of forgiveness, but the part that stood out the most to me was the benefit of healing when you forgive. Not only does it make you feel free of stress and anxiety, forgiveness can improve your internal health. And it also can give you a peace of mind. We don't realize when we bottle up that feeling of unforgiveness and resentment, it causes breakdown in your internal self. It can also cause high blood pressure, depression, heart problems, low self-esteem, and other health issues. When you're upset about something, it can also affect your relationship with others. It will wear you down if you let it. You have the authority to make that change within you. The way the state of the world is today, we must practice forgiveness. Forgiving is you wanting and trying to move past the hurt and pain. Not letting go of it hurts you more than it hurts anyone else. Don't give them or the situation power or control over your life. Do you have it in your heart to forgive? Or are you going to allow yourself to be held captive by the feelings that you have control over and that you can change? We only have one life to live. Forgive, live, laugh, love, and finally, let it go.